no radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Well, welcome to a jolly episode of Horror of the Worlds, where we talk about horror movies and how they were influenced. I'm Curtis Gerhardt.
I'm Stephen Miller.
And we're talking about how a lot of Christmas horror movies got started.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's the original horror story season.
Mm-hmm. It's one of them, yes.
Yeah. Halloween would be the beginning of it. Christmas, it's like in the thick of the death of your...
That's the whole thing. When it comes to poetry, snow always represented death. That took away the life, killed a lot of things, and it killed and killed until it melted away. Right. It was a rebirth. It was...
Where warmth and comfort were... Before warmth and comfort were a basic... it's always been a basic necessity, but before it was a given, like it is in many parts of America today, people had to work hard for it. And during these hard bouts of struggle where crops wouldn't grow and children were dying because of the cold and shit like that, instead of telling holly jolly stories, people would tell ghost stories.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up we are. We like to freak out a little bit more. We
always loved horror. We always loved scary things. Before Christianity, there was always fear. We were always pushing it upon someone else.
Absolutely.
Kind of bringing up Christianity, unfortunately, is since it is a Christmas episode and we are kind of getting onto the whole movies, let's give some quick history on the whole, quick early Christmas history where some Christians were bored. Romans were bored after that. And they pretty much created a holiday that pagans created. It was a Saturnilla. I'm going to pronounce
Saturnilla.
That sounds right. SaturnaliA.
You can ask Marilyn Manson. He has a song about it. He says it pretty well.
I think that Saturnalia. But that was a pagan holiday, which was a winter solstice, when it was the turning of times.
Right.
And Romans needed a holiday to kind of encapsulate them, and we celebrate Christmas. That is more holy. You guys got to follow our stuff now. It's the same thing but different because it's not yours. Romans changed a lot of things. It was usually derived from a lot of pagans.
Regurgitated version of pagan beliefs.
It's
because I feel like a mass majority of the people that push it forward were in fact pagans. So how are you going to represent this without your natural way of celebrating?
Which I think that's what the great thing is. That is exactly what we're talking about when it comes to movies, because so many of these movies are the same fucking thing but regurgitated. Much like what the Romans did and other cultures did for different religions to make their own religion and their own beliefs. Oh my gosh, I feel like Bob Clark did the same thing when it comes to Black Christmas. So there was a movie, Black Christmas came out in 1974, but there was a movie called Silent Night, Bloody Night. So this is a movie that came out just 2 years prior to Bob Clark's Black Christmas. And I almost feel like this is a blatant rip-off of that movie. The Silent Night, Bloody Night is such a slow, boring, poorly lit movie, and it's so hard to pay attention to and listen to. And I'm not usually one of those people that kind of try to tell people, don't watch this horror movie. If you're a fan and you're trying to watch originals, yes, get it over and one and done. I might recommend seeking it out on Blu-ray if they actually said they restored it and it looks better, because there are some scenes that are shot at night and you're looking at a black fucking screen. It is that bad.
This is one of those ones that even the original elitists are going to be like, you know what?
It is bad. But it's all the same things, though. A lot like Black Christmas. It was, you were in a house. There was phone calls going on. There were that horror element of what made Black Christmas so good. Bob Clark just made it better. Much like what the Romans did. They made Christmas better.
Right.
They wanted theirs, so they took it and made it theirs. But yeah, Black Christmas is a staple, I feel like, when it comes to a Christmas or that winter feeling when it comes to movies. This is the one that helped start off and made everyone realize, oh, Christmas and Snow could be horror movies, like because there were always these love movies or like the It's a Wonderful Life,
Yeah.
But this was a genuine scary movie. It's even more scary once when you know the ending. And quick synopsis. As winter break begins, a group of sorority sisters, including Jess and the often inebriated Barb, Barb, began to receive anonymous, lascivious phone calls. Initially, oh gosh, why do I always have to pick the ones with the hardest words for me? Initially, Barb eggs a caller on, but stops when her responses threateningly soon. Barb's friend Claire goes missing from the sorority house, and the local adolescent girl is murdered, leading the girls to suspect a serial killer is on the loose, but no one realizes just how near the culprit is.
That is only a little different from how they reshot the new one.
I think there are 2 remakes of this movie. I think
the newest one, it's done via text.
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh God!
There's no phone call. It's only text.
So that with my reaction, I have not seen the remakes at all yet. I need to knock them off my list.
I feel like the newest one wasn't too bad, but it's because it's been a very, very long time since I've seen the original.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit on the nose in comparison to the first one.
Well, that's the great thing about the first one is it's almost a spiritual prequel. Some people would actually say a spiritual prequel to Halloween, because there's been talks. John Carpenter doesn't admit it or anything, or no one's at fault here, but possibly took a sequel to Black Christmas and made it into Halloween, because, mind you, I think Halloween only came out like 2 years after. Mm-hmm. But Black Christmas, the very beginning, had the killer point of view and stuff. So you had the camera point moving around, much like how Michael Myers did when he was a kid, going throughout the house.
I do enjoy those shots.
They did. I feel like it's so much more effective back then than they are nowadays. Even to Evil Dead's shaky cam, it's so much more energy than this weird, slow-paced, even just, it just doesn't feel real anymore. One of the great things about Black Christmas is it really did spark a lot of conversation for what it was, because especially at this time frame, a lot of people were not talking about, was it the Roe versus Wade? Roe versus Wade situation, and this one was already talking about a woman getting an abortion, and it was a woman's choice. Like her and her boyfriend was upset, and like, no, you can't do that to me. Like, oh, you're just trying to abort the baby because it's getting in my way of my future. And she's like, no, it's getting in the way of my future. I want an abortion and stuff. So, I mean, it was a great women's empowerment movie for this. There is the whole thing that we also know from other movies and other TV shows on when there's always a phone call killer going on, and they always say
the scream factor,
where it's like, oh, where's the call coming from? It's coming from inside the house. This is one of the movies that started that. So this is not just so much a start of Christmas horror movies, but the start of a lot of different things.
That's a typical horror movie trope.
Mm-hmm. And this one started it. It's the 70s started a lot of tropes when it comes to, I mean, granted, it's not a 70s movie, but Friday the 13th, you have Halloween, Black Friday, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These are the staples of horror movies nowadays. But also, a great thing about Bob Clark is he turned around and made another Christmas movie after this. I don't think it was directly after this, but one that, if you didn't want horror, but you love this director, he went off and made A Christmas Story. Like the one that we got pummeled with as kids, where it was playing 24 hours on like PBS or ABC or something like that back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I felt like that showed how well versed Bob Clark is as a director, where he could do a actually very scary movie, a great whodunit, because this is a pure whodunit. You have no idea who the killer is, and if you say you knew who it was from the start, fuck off. I'm sorry.
You.
You don't know. You go watch that movie, and it is dated as all hell. But I don't know, I think it's like a Christmas tradition for a lot of families. I feel like A Christmas Story is.
With the new one, they definitely made it more of a cult kind of thing.
Oh, the new Black Christmas? Or,
yeah.
All right.
So they definitely took a different angle for it, but they still made it more of a bit of a woman's empowerment kind of movie, but at the same time, it was more on the nose because women have already had rights for so long since then. They're still struggling for certain rights and things like that. So the point of the movie still stands, but at the same time, it felt like it was more said aloud versus letting the story do the telling.
I feel like that you almost nowadays you would have to grasp a lot more compared to back then. It was just so easy because it was just they had little to no rights. You know, I mean, it's probably not a subject that you and I could talk about because you know we have things that hang. You know, but it's just like nowadays they have a lot more rights than they had back in the day, where it was just easier to make it as a comment. It was easier to make a movie off of female rights or that upbringing. They could still do it nowadays, but they have to be more clever about it. There's no
right. They can't just get away with the artistic style of storytelling. They have to put a little bit more oomph behind it.
They had to put more heart and more thought into it, which is great. It's going to make a better movie, something that will hopefully have some longevity in it.
Right.
You know, I mean, compared to these movies, a lot of people hate them because of how blunt and on the nose. I mean, the guy was, you know, yelling and saying the C word and all that stuff, like yelling at cunt on the radio or on the phone, and just things you don't hear on TV or the movies back then.
Right.
So that's like one of the things that you kind of have to take consideration of 74. And this movie does pick up, like it is another well-paced movie. And I feel like if you're a horror fan, you need to watch this one at least once. If you're a Christmas fan, if you're a winter fan, if you love the snow, you know, this is one of those movies. And if I'm not mistaken, I might be speaking off the cuff. This was another movie that helped start the whole Canucksploitation, because when we were doing a lot of movies up in Canada to kind of get tax breaks, and this one might have been one where Canada paid for this movie to be made.
There's actually quite a few movies that we've been talking about lately that kind of had that exploitation. One of which that I've chosen is definitely one of those today.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of movies are nowadays. They're going up to Canada because America has no real tax breaks. Certain states, like you'll get a tax break if you hire actors within that state to kind of help thrive that state a little bit more.
I
that
hear
city.
that a lot about Northwest. When a movie takes place in the Northwest, they usually go up to Vancouver, Canada, for more than one reason, but it also still captures what it looks like here without taking too much from it.
And a lot of places are even going to across over to like Romania and all that stuff too. I mean, you know, love it or hate it, Rob Zombie's The Munsters, I want to say they built that whole city out in Romania.
Oh, shit.
I could be wrong with that state, but they made a American cul-de-sac in a different country because it was cheaper. Like I think the amount of work it took to build that street and shoot it for that one day would have been, or the amount of money it took to make that town that they did would have been one day of shooting here in America.
Oh, damn.
And stuff. So it just kind of goes to show you on what money gets you in other places, especially when you just watch the second one.
Yeah.
So the next movie, I know we're trucking along. I feel like I'm trucking along because we all should have seen Black Christmas by now.
Yeah. At least one of the variations.
Like, even a trailer won't do that movie justice. Like, you have to watch it. I want to say it's streaming in a lot of places. But a movie that helped actually make, like, people realize that Christmas, or Santa Claus, was a great way to sell tickets and make things scary, was Silent Night, Deadly Night. No, it was not the first Christmas movie that made Santa a villain. I want to say Creepshow did it years back, and there was another movie, I can't remember off the top of my head, that did it like 2 years prior that had a killer Santa Claus. But with Silent Night, Deadly Night, it was there in your face. They played it during family shows that were on TV, and it was everywhere. And a lot of the Christians and stuff hated it at the time. I want to say this was like around when Satanic Panic was starting.
But they made the villain. I'm just saying,
they made it so much worse.
Big guy that sneaks into your house at night while everybody's sleeping. Who's better to be a fucking villain?
Oh, I love it when someone just comes in and breaks into my house and just leaves me presents while I'm sleeping.
Who shit under the mistletoe?
And eats my food and all this stuff. I mean, who doesn't love that? But this is another movie where I feel like a lot of us have seen it or know of it or heard of it. Or you could easily watch the sequel, which is the first movie, but with 15 minutes of added scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's just him just getting the plot away and just kind of making the movie make sense. It also has a couple great lines like punish, or naughty. Everyone knows those lines. Like garbage day. Another fucking famous one. Which I want to say is from the second one. Also, Linnea Quigley's Rack on a Rack. If you know, you know. But the short synopsis is: an orphan raised by nuns grows up to be a killer toy Santa Claus. It's short, simple, but that's what this movie is.
What more do you need for a horror movie, really?
Yeah. I mean, so the thing that they don't really take on is the kid is traumatized because he saw his parents get I don't think they were raped, but murdered by a...
They got Bruce Wayne, yeah.
Yeah.
It's traumatized by bats. This motherfucker's traumatized by Santa. Fat men with beards.
Honestly, I never put those two and two together. Like, this is the exact Bruce Wayne thing, where he saw his parents get murdered by Santa Claus, and in order for him to fight the good, he puts on a Santa Claus hat, and all of a sudden, he's the good one, killing the naughty. So, I mean, if you like Batman, watch Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, right. It's direct eye.
Honestly, this is another movie that started a franchise. I want to say there are 4 sequels to this one. Also, 1 remake.
I don't know if that would be a remake. What recently came out?
No, not the one that recently came out
was Violent Night.
No, it was still Silent Night, but this one came out But now there are like 5 other movies called Silent Night. Like there's currently one that's going around based in Britain during Christmas time, or I don't even think it's Christmas time. I think it is Christmas. But there is a radioactive cloud that's going around and killing people. So they end up either the people that could afford it either take a suicide pill, or they suffer a painful, bloody death that they bleed out of their orifices. Brutal. If suicide is a hard subject for some people, I don't really recommend it because it is a very bleak ending.
Movie. Yeah.
But also a great movie because you don't get that many Christmas bleak movies in that sense.
No, you're right.
You kind of get like, oh, all hope is gone or whatever. But this one is just like, it's just fucking bummer. But the other Silent Night that was a remake-ish came out in 2012, which was just regular Silent Night. I'm pretty sure you saw that cover.
Oh, yeah. I like that one. That was creepy Santa.
But then they have Violent Night, and it's just there are so many different Silent Night named titles. I wish I would have done a list of all the different Silent Night ripoffs.
Yeah. I feel like the Violent Night one that's has nothing to do with the original franchise.
No,
it's pretty much just Santa getting his guns and shooting out the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's a shoot 'em up movie.
That's the thing. I do enjoy this movie a lot because I mean he, kind of harking back at it. I really love that reference. Like he Bruce Wayne some motherfuckers because, he is a traumatized guy. He sees Santa. He pretty much reds out. He sees red and he just kills.
I feel like there's quite a few movies from that time frame that kind of fit that bill.
That's why I love
like
80s
Maniac.
horror movies because it's just the story and plot are so stupid simple where it's enough to make a story and push it forward. And some have amazing scenes, amazing kill scenes, and some are just basic like this, like where the kill scenes, there are some good kill scenes. The story's very minimal, like
you don't need much to build up. Like it gave so little so it could build so much. I mean,
this movie is, I would probably say on the same level as Black Christmas on the influences it has made in the media on top of horror movies or Christmas movies. You can't really see many Christmas movies or Santa movies without references from this movie or references from other movies that made references from this movie.
I feel like 2015's Krampus,
which is like the Krampus movie. When anyone talks about, oh, have you seen Krampus?
Well,
this is that movie.
So with this one in particular, my friend took his wife at that time to go see a Christmas movie, and they're like, oh, let's just see any Christmas movie. They signed up to see this one, and she was fucking terrified by what she saw. She wanted some lighthearted, family, happy, go-getter movie. Yeah, it's a great family movie, and then your kids get taken to hell. And that's fun.
and put into a snow globe
Put into a
for
snow
eternity. And he has a happy Christmas for eternity until, Krampus knocks it over with some chains or something like that. But I mean, that's a happy ever after.
It's great.
I mean, your
If
own
you
personal
don't mind
hell.
being stuck in a snow globe with your family. But Krampus celebrated in a whole bunch of countries, mostly Austria, Germany, Slovenia, Hungary, Czech Republic, and now the United States. I feel like I didn't notice that
I feel like
up until recently.
a couple years after this movie became so big is when Krampus started becoming a thing in
I
America.
want to say it's always been a thing if you go to Leavenworth. Leavenworth has always had their own thing going on. For a while there, they took it out of Leavenworth, but then they realized that attraction wasn't... It was a bigger attraction than they thought, and it brought it back. But the one thing I like about that celebration being done here is it gives a lot of artists some show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get to show off their amazing costumes, their mask work, and all kinds of stuff.
Like, I feel like, honestly, I don't know because I haven't been to the Midwest, out to like Wisconsin, like Minnesota area. But I feel like Krampus has to be a huge thing over there because I know that's where a lot of like German and Dutch immigrants kind of came from and kind of stayed put.
Right.
But yeah, if you're from there and you watch this video, let me know. I mean, I'm genuinely kind of curious about it and don't care enough to do my own research. Being honest.
So the mythology of Krampus, lightly putting it because I don't know too much about it, said to be the son of Hel, the Norse goddess of the underworld. In overall now, more known as the antagonist of St. Nicholas. Pretty much St. Nicholas rewards the good kids and Krampus punishes the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But with this movie...
A yin to a yang because
Yeah.
you can't have a good without an evil. You can't have a God, Jesus Christ, without a Satan.
Yeah. In this movie, Krampus doesn't take action until the youngest boy in the family decides that it's not worth the Christmas spirit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck all this. I just want everybody to forget about it. And he rips up his Santa list, throws it out the window. That's when Krampus is like, my time to shine.
Got you.
Yeah. And then he starts terrorizing the whole family. Let's give a good synopsis here on this particular movie, 2015's Michael Dougherty. So while the holiday season represents the most magical time of year, ancient European folklore warns of Krampus, a horned beast who punishes naughty children at Christmas time. When a dysfunctional family squabbling causes young Max to lose his festive spirit, it unleashes a wrath of fearsome demon as Krampus lay siege to the Ingle home. Mom, played by Toni Collette, and Dad, played by Adam Scott, and sister and brother must band together to save one another from a monstrous fate.
I love that end of that description. Mom, pop, sister, and brother.
Yeah, right. They definitely weirded that out. But overall, this whole movie has everybody in there had something to do with comedy. Toni Collette, when she starred in United States of Terror, that show was all comedy. She had to deal with 7 personalities, and she presented them in a comedic factor.
I don't think I've seen that at all.
You need to watch that. They ended it shortly and didn't renew it because it wasn't getting watched enough. But it's got 3 to 5 seasons of solid storyline. And Adam Scott, that dude's just
He's everywhere.
And
you have David Koechner?
Yeah. He was in Anchorman.
Yes. It's kind of weird. As much as I've seen Anchorman, I always think of him in Out Cold.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel like no one's ever seen that movie.
Oh, dude, yeah. I forgot
Another
about that.
great snow movie, but it's just... I just remember him just being that weird dumbass.
But with this movie in particular, I feel like it was... As far as the folklore goes, I don't know if it does anything any justice. I do know that as a horror movie fan, it had enough comedic gore and terrorizing representation of things like killer gingerbread men.
It did everything like pretty much perfect. It did a lot of the lore justice when it came to a lot of its beliefs. The actual grotesqueness and demonic look of this Krampus, I feel like is a great representation. Could have been done better, yes, but at the same time, though, it could have been really more Mike Dougherty did a great job, which he does a great job with all of his movies. Like another one of his movies that was a sleeper, much like this movie was a sleeper, was Trick or Treat.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Trick or
Like,
Treat
it's
was great.
Both great movies.
He puts a lot of effort into the way his movies get presented. I like the way that they made this Krampus look in particular with the it's almost like he skinned Santa's face and put it on his.
Very Leatherface like.
Yeah, it was really cool with his claws and stuff like that, and the way he moved was kind of scary for something that big. You didn't expect it to be able to jump around from house to house and kind of slaughter everybody, but
Yeah.
of course they found a way to do it, but kept it
Those horns too. Like it was just a beautiful
right.
beast. Like on top of all the creatures and critters and things, the elements he had, where he had the cherub angel being like a demonic being. You know, which I love the. Oh gosh. That whole spin, like an angel being evil.
Oh yeah, the creepy angel. You've got to be fucking kidding. They had some one-liners in here, and this movie, if I remember correctly, at the time, it was heavily pushed by Adult Swim. If you watch the scene where they actually go into the younger son's room, you can see a picture of Rick Sanchez and Morty on the walls as wanted posters. It was pretty much when that show first started out and stuff like that, and Adult Swim definitely put their logo on the kid's room in the background and stuff like that, and you kind of got a tip of the hat to them in the movie. But they definitely showed scenes when you were watching Adult Swim late at night and their little bumps and stuff like that.
I don't recall that at all.
It was very cool, and it was a proper, in my opinion, a proper company to boost this with the comedic factors that they had in there and the way that they kind of represented family. Because I know that I have some family members that might be able to fill out the profile on some of these characters.
I feel like this is one of those weird movies too, at least for me personally. Because yes, I don't get scared that easily. But people, it seems like a lot of people, especially a lot of kids, are scared to death of this movie. I guess it's just because as my age, but I don't feel like this is a scary movie. I could see the scary elements, but I don't.
I could see scary elements. As an adult, I just see it as pure comedy for the most part. The presentation and some of the things are definitely creepy, though. Like, if you have a problem with claymation and stuff like that, when the gingerbread men attack, you're going to be a little freaked out. But it was.
I guess they could be kind of scary, you know. Like, but I mean, I just love the comedy behind them because they felt like gremlins.
If your kid believes in Elf on a Shelf, it's going to be terrified by this movie.
Fuck, which they made a Krampus on the shelf that was like a little stuffy that didn't sit up. It's like, oh, here he's just junk in the corner.
Yeah, this movie was only rated PG-13 with an hour and a half watch time, which makes it definitely bearable for you to watch with the whole family. It's not one of those 3-hour time sucks that a lot of movies can be.
Perfect Christmas movie, like especially it's not that happy-go-lucky weird. It's just it fits that snowed in element so much, especially if you're up here in the Pacific Northwest where you all have that uncle or whatnot that's just that gun-toting.
Yeah, I definitely nailed that. The budget for it was $15 million. Yeah, I bet they got their money's worth out of that one.
I feel like that was a lot. I feel like he got a lot paid. That movie. I feel like the movie was made for a lot less, and some of that $15 million was some of the stuff that they were. Actors. Well, big time actors, but the publicity and stuff like that shelling out, because that's when they say the budget's this much, X amount goes towards payment and the movie itself, and the other goes towards, of the posters and all that good fun shit.
And they're talking about having a sequel to it too, so that's kind of fun.
They've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, just like they were with the American Werewolf in London.
You could find so many different Krampus movies nowadays. Like there are so many different ripoffs. There are on Tubi that are just, a lot of them are not good. Like you want them to be good because it's like, oh, how could they do Krampus? They did it bad.
Well, any movie that sits there and, I don't know, takes something that's supposed to be cute, fluffy, and turns it into a demonic beast has my vote. And when family members are getting stabbed by sharpened candy canes, it's a good time. It's a great time.
And who doesn't want to stab someone with a candy cane?
Absolutely, right? It is the season.
But I think another great movie that did the balance really well when it comes to that yin and yang, I kind of said, when it comes to like Santa Claus and Krampus, and another pretty good looking typical Krampus nowadays, like when you want to do like big budget, because he looks clean, he looks scary, but he looks clean and buff,
right,
is A Christmas Horror Story.
Yeah, Christmas Horror Story. This one also came out in 2015.
I also feel like this is that movie that if you had Netflix during this time frame, you've seen this poster, you've seen this thumbnail, but you just kind of like either queued it and then forgot about it. Because I was that way for this movie. I haven't seen this movie until like 7 years after this came out.
Or you were like me. I kept hearing so much about the Krampus movie that in 2015 it was in the movie theaters. But when I typed it in to search for it, this movie popped up instead. And
I can see that.
The overall baseline, it gets a little crazy sometimes. So the summary of it: interwoven stories take place on Christmas Eve, as told by one festive radio host played by William Shatner. Family brings home more than a Christmas tree. A student documentary becomes a living nightmare. Christmas spirit terrorizes, and Santa slays evil. But there's also a point where, if I remember correctly, there's zombie elves. So this one literally has everything. I mean, it's, as far as a watch, it's very slow to begin, but when it starts telling Santa's origin backstory, or their version of Santa's origin backstory, it takes off. It's a lot more fun because Santa's, in this one, a big, brutal badass and not necessarily the happy-go-lucky guy.
This one reminds me, I don't know if American Dad was influenced by it, but this, granted, I've only seen this movie once, and it did not stick with me. It's another one of those Killer Clowns from Outer Space thing, where it's like, I watched it, I don't remember anything about it, except for some bits and pieces of it. But it always feels like the Christmas American Dad episodes when Santa is a badass and you have Krampus, and Krampus is a nice guy, Santa's the bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
But then when they start duking it out and all that stuff, I feel like that's what this movie was you had these two symbolisms, these two mythical beings fighting each other.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like,
it feels like some of the other stories in it kind of muddied up everything, but with the overall the horror elements that you're looking for in this movie, I feel like it delivered. But unfortunately, it didn't deliver in a way that you will, like you said, remember forever. Like, when you watch Krampus, the things that you see, you definitely remember. Like, the uncle taking out the shotgun from the back. Like, there was iconic scenes in there that were funny, and there were brutal scenes in there that you couldn't, like, erase from your mind.
And that's the thing, too. Like, if you need something different to watch for Krampus, if you need something different for a Christmas episode, if that's not pure Santa Claus or happy-go-lucky or like unnecessarily bloody or plotless, this one is a good watch at least once, I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely got a creep show factor to it with the stories kind of meeting in the middle to combine one full story, kind of like Pulp Fiction or some shit like that. But it definitely, I don't know. In my opinion, overall, it was still lacking on some of it. At first, when I watched it, I couldn't get enough of it. I absolutely loved it, but the rewatch, I don't know.
That's the thing. Krampus, I could rewatch that movie it doesn't need to be Christmas for me to watch that movie. I just enjoy that movie. This one is once every couple years now on Christmas.
I want to freshen things up or something.
Yeah. It's... But we'll go ahead and do a couple of recommendations when it comes to some good Christmas horror movies. Like one that I really fucking love and I really wanted to put in this episode, but I really want people to watch it instead of me half-assed talk about it, is Christmas Bloody Christmas. It's a Joe Begos movie. I think it's Begos, Begos, I believe. Where if you actually like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I want to say it's Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 or 4, the one with I guess the toy maker and the one with and Bill Moseley in it, because he played Santa Claus in one of the later sequels.
Wow, that's weird.
But no, Christmas Bloody Christmas is that really fucked up, that really dirty and gritty, like animatronic Santa Claus that goes and kills, and there is no stopping him. Like this movie has to be seen by everyone that enjoys a movie. I mean, it has Jeff Daniel Phillips in it. It has Jonah Ray, which I really enjoy Jonah Ray.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like if you like Mystery Science Theater 3000, when it came out on Netflix, he was a main guy on it, and he also had the Sword of Zanzibar?
Yeah.
And stuff. So I mean, it's
oh my god, he was great.
I wish I could explain this movie better, but yeah, like I said, it's a killer robotic Santa Claus that goes around and kills, and no one could stop it. There's a great cunnilingus scene that you don't really get at all in horror movies. There is just a brutal, all hope is gone, and especially if you hear some of Joe Begos's behind the scenes on how he shot some of these scenes, like where he himself is hanging out with his fucking camera, hanging on the side of a car, just trying to get these shots. Like he is, and I love his movies.
I have one that would be have to be Jack Frost, and not that Michael Keaton bullshit. I actually found this one trying to find the Michael Keaton one, like, oh, I'm in the Christmas spirit, and then in this one, a snowman brutally fucks somebody to death with an icicle. So it's definitely different, not your typical Christmas movie, but I think the most famous person inside of it is Shannon Elizabeth, and this whole movie,
I don't know that name.
Shannon Elizabeth, American Pie.
Huh.
She was the foreign exchange student that he tried to hook up with. Damn.
Okay.
Well, she was also in 13 Ghosts.
Oh. I think I might know who
She
you're
was
talking
the
about
older
now.
sister in 13 Ghosts. She is the most famous name to come out of this, and it has Evil Bong vibes. It actually,
Yes.
I think the same people that shot Ice Cream Man did this movie. I mean, it's got that weird, really sappy kind. And if you were like us growing up and you judged a book by its cover or a movie by its box, when you went to Blockbuster and tried to choose this thing, you'd choose it going, oh, this is going to be an awesome movie. It's definitely not what you expected. B movie at its best. I love it. Can't get enough of it.
I still need to rewatch this movie.
Jack Frost.
Yes, because I feel like that's one of the biggest Christmas movies that everyone talks about, but no one talks about at the same exact time.
Oh, dude.
Like it's like the ones like, oh, have you seen this one though?
This one is definitely, it's not your typical Christmas movie. I fucking love it.
I'm always down for that.
And I mean, I feel like there's so many, but how do you choose one that you find to be just perfect?
This one is perfect because if you like the dirty, gritty, the bad Christmas ones that all hope is kind of gone again, because Rare Exports.
Rare
Exports is another great one where it is an evil Santa Claus that are kind of like elves, and they're evil, malicious, and fucked up. Like this movie is
Leprechaun,
so dark and
Leprechaun
bleak.
in the Hood kind of vibes going on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Wonderful Knife. I gotta be honest, I am sick of the time travel kind of movies and shit like that. But when I was growing up, my family would always watch It's a Wonderful Life for Christmas and all that shit. So this one was like, oh no, a brutal retelling of the story.
It's not that brutal, but it is a great horror remake of it.
If I remember correctly, isn't Justin Long in it or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Justin Long because I think he actually had
fake
makeup
teeth
on
and all kinds of makeup, and I don't want.
But it is an incredibly solid movie for a current generation horror movie.
Yeah.
Especially something that is a remake of a time traveling,
at the time,
Wonderful
you
Life.
had so many things that came out at the same time, like what is it, Happy Death Day, and then that one took off, and then you had Freaky, and then you had the body swap time travel thing going on,
Freaky
and
came
then,
out, yeah.
and then you have this one. I feel like this one was actually worth the watch. It definitely had a seasoned spirit to it, but
I don't know. Another one I would really recommend is The Mean One with David Howard Thornton. No, I'm joking. Like, if you love Art the Clown, he plays a Grinch in that movie, which, if you know David Howard Thornton, his whole acting kind of started with playing the Grinch, I think, on stage.
Oh,
so
really?
there's a great wraparound there.
That's
But that movie is another one where, and all the kills are off screen, which make it, like, so I'm not recommending that one.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre had the same thing going on to it.
It
It had all the kills
kind of
off
did,
screen.
yeah.
You didn't see too much of it.
But another one I would actually really recommend is Better Watch Out. So if you like Home Alone and you want a horror movie, Better Watch Out is that perfect movie for it. There
You're
is
gonna watch their brains splatter when the can hits their face.
that way to ruin that part. That part is such a great part. It's like they're not gonna do it. Like, oh shit. There's I think they even make fun of it. It's like, you see the head? It's not there. The paint can's going right through it. Or I was thinking that. Like but yeah, it's just like when you ever watch Home Alone and you're like, oh, those things should kill. They should kill these
have
people.
Been
They
dead
should
after the first one. Yeah, they should.
In this movie, they get hurt. They die. They get fucked up. But that's another great movie.
Have a holly jolly one for everybody except for Bridget. Fuck you, Bridget.
Yeah, fuck you, Bridget.
I hope Krampus gets your ass.
All right, peace out.